Once upon a time, in a sunlit meadow surrounded by tall grasses and blooming wildflowers, there lived a colony of ants. Among them was a small, determined ant named Sora. Though Sora was no different in size or strength from her companions, she possessed an extraordinary quality. She never gave up, no matter how difficult the task. One bright morning, the colony was preparing for the changing season. Food supplies needed to be stored before the rains came. All the ants were scurrying about, carrying grains, seeds, and crumbs back to their nest. But as Sora ventured farther than usual, she found a giant crumb of bread, a treasure large enough to feed several ants for days. Sora's eyes lit up with excitement. "This will help our colony so much," she thought. But as she tried to lift the crumb, she realized it was far heavier than anything she had carried before. Sora didn't give up. She pushed the crumb forward with all her strength, one tiny step at a time. The journey back to the nest was long, and the path was filled with obstacles, tall blades of grass, uneven ground, and even the occasional gust of wind that threatened to blow her away. Other ants noticed her struggle and called out, "Sora, leave it behind, it's too big for you. Find something smaller." But Sora simply smiled and replied, "Little steps will take me there. I just have to keep going." As the day wore on, Sora's progress was slow but steady. She would push the crumb forward a few inches, rest for a moment, and then push again. Along the way, she encountered challenges that seemed insurmountable. A steep slope blocked her path, and the crumb threatened to roll back down. Sora paused, catching her breath. "This is tough," she admitted to herself, "but I can climb it if I just take it one push at a time." And so she did. Inch by inch, she moved the crumb up the slope, her tiny legs working tirelessly. At the top, she looked back and marveled at how far she had come. As evening fell, the other ants returned to the nest, their tasks complete. They were surprised to see Sora still out in the meadow, tirelessly pushing the crumb. "She'll never make it," some whispered. "It's just too much for one ant." But Sora didn't listen. She kept her focus on the crumb and her steps, no matter how small. Finally, as the moon rose high in the sky, Sora arrived at the entrance of the nest. Her tiny body was exhausted, but her heart was full of pride. The other ants gathered around, astonished. "You did it, Sora!" they exclaimed. "We didn't think it was possible." Sora smiled, her antennae twitching with joy. "It wasn't easy," she said, "but little steps taken one at a time can achieve even the biggest goals." The colony celebrated Sora's achievement, and her story spread throughout the meadow. From that day on, whenever an ant felt overwhelmed by a difficult task, they would think of Sora and remember her lesson. Persistence, even in the smallest steps, leads to great heights. Moral of the story: no matter how big the challenge, small, consistent efforts can achieve extraordinary results. Never give up, and remember, every little step brings you closer to your goal.